Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back, and we are back to Married at First Sight UK series 8 and we are now on episode 26. What I will say before we get into episode 26, which is partner swap week, by the way, what I will say is I was planning on doing reactions to Love Island Australia and Love Island Games, and I'm absolutely gutted by the fact that Love Island Australia is not, I can't get it where I'm at. Basically cannot get it where I'm at. Tried all the different apps where it might have come on and it won't allow me to download them. With Love Island Games, it's being shown on Peacock TV, which is an American app at the end of the day. I know some people are able to get it, but where I am, again, I'm not able to get it. I've tried to download the thing because I really wanted to do my reactions to Love Island Games. And I'm absolutely gutted that I can't, like, proper gutted that I can't. So even if they put it over on what I watch it on is ITVX here, even if they put it on ITVX here, it's still going to be too flipping late at the end of the day, because you would have seen everybody else's reactions to it and I'd have been like, what, probably a month or so behind, which isn't fair. I know, but I shall get into Married at First Sight for you all, just for an appeaser. I will still try and see if I can get at least the Love Island Games before it gets too far ahead. I will try and see if I can, but I'm not making any promises, okay, people? But anyway, before we get into this episode of Married at First Sight UK, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so when you know I'm on and doing videos. And let's talk about what we called partner swap this week. Right, as I start off, let's keep it in our minds that Erica decided that she was not going to do partner swap week in support of her husband Jordan, because they've just gone through a quite triggering experience with Luke and Jay has now been told to leave, which people are still harping on in that sense. And Jordan was in a space where he didn't believe that he'd be able to get anything from that part of the experiment. He didn't want his safety net, which was Erica at the time, to leave him, for him to cope with the situation that he's dealing with at the moment. Because I didn't know, as it came out, that Jordan does deal with OCD at the end of the day. So the situation with Luke triggered him to the point where he needed to be able to align himself, to reassure himself in terms of what he needed to do next, because as Jordan says, he knows himself better than anybody else knows himself. Now, he spoke and had those conversations quite frankly with Erica, and Erica, albeit, was the one that said, you know what, okay, I'm not going to go ahead and say I want to do this. She did want to do it, make no mistake about it. She did want to do the partner swap, but she decided that she was going to stand with her husband at that point and actually be there for him. So she made that decision. So then it gets to the part where you see Peggy and what's their freaking husband's name? George. I don't know how I forgot George's name, but then you get to the point where you see Peggy and George having their conversations, and how Peggy's basically saying that she cannot believe that it got to this point. My girl, how can you not believe that it got to this point? Because you wrote leave on that card. You wrote leave. As I said from another episode, I still don't believe she actually wanted to write leave, but she wrote it in order to manipulate the situation with George to get a fire rocket up his ass to do the things that she wants him to do at the end of the day. And that's how I'm seeing it. So basically George is completely upset by this and that, the fact that she wrote leave cut deep for him. I said that was the main purpose of her writing leave though. That was the main purpose of Peggy writing leave. She didn't really want to leave, but she wanted to light a fire rocket up George's ass because she knew George would write stay. She ain't stupid in the slightest in regards to that. And she's learned the manipulation 101 at the end of the day. So basically George is saying that he's still trying to work it out in terms of what Peggy wants. I'm still of a mind to say, what is it? No, seriously, George, what is it that she's doing for you? What is it that she's doing for you? Because I don't see her doing a whole hell of a lot. I see her wanting to change you and how you think and how you do things and how you should be doing things, but I don't see her doing shit for you at the end of the day. So it then moves on to Sean and Mark, because apparently Sean spent the night away from Mark after the confessions on the couch. Mark isn't too sure as to why he spent that night away, but Sean is literally mixed in his mind at the end of the day, because I don't think Sean really wants to stay a part of this process, because I don't think he really is connecting with Mark in the way that Mark wants him to connect with him. And there's also the added pressure where Mark has continually said, please don't hurt me, please don't, which is unfair. I'm sorry, I am going to say it. It's unfair of Mark to put that type of pressure on someone in regards to the please don't hurt me comment. Yes, I understood that he was hurt. Yes, I understood that there may be trauma coming from the hurts that he went through. But my thing is again, with the experts, why would you allow a person that's been through so much trauma in terms of his previous relationship, in terms of the issues that happened with his father, and the fact that he's not been in a relationship for 10 whole years before deciding to come and apply for this show, would you let him on the show? Because he obviously hasn't dealt with the traumas that he's been dealing with at that point in time. Because I don't understand how you could then transfer that pressure, transfer your insecurity of not wanting to be hurt on someone else and think that is going to be a positive outcome in any way, shape or form. So then we get the gold envelopes coming through and we learn about the partner swaps. They're saying it's basically a case of them spending like 2 nights and 2 days living with someone else to try and actually bolster their relationships and see where the gaps may be. I think the aim is really just to break people, just to literally see how weak your relationship is. Not how strong your relationship is, just how weak it is. But I suppose on the flip side, some people may miss their partners when they're not there. You know, like with Peggy and George. We will get into that with Peggy and George. And the fact that, you know, Peggy was matched with Matt. And she found Matt, like, you know, she tried to get that, you know, that fun part out in Matt, but it just wasn't happening. So we can kind of see what Adrienne is speaking about in regards to Matt, because Matt is kind of boring as hell. Even the story that he told that he thought would be funny was not funny, because I was sitting there thinking like, well, where's the punchline? Where is the punchline? Even Peggy was not impressed. Even Peggy went to the realm of, I'm missing George because George is very full on in the house and he gives that energy. I said, yeah, now you miss him. When you ain't got that energy around you, now you miss it. So then we learn that Paul and Tasha had a bit of a set to after the commitment ceremony, aka the confessions of the couch. So they didn't really go into depth as to what the argument was about, but Paul was saying it was a pretty small argument and that he saw a side of Tasha that he didn't really want to revisit again, in the fact that Tasha got so het up to the point that she was shouting in this man's face and pointing at him and everything. Right. Because I know it's going to come up in the fact that, you know, Tasha's there saying, I think it's at the dinner party that Tasha's there saying in regards to that, you know, Paul asked for a fiery person and that's what he's get. But there's fiery and being fiery at the end of the day, because what she did to Paul, if it was true and if it was correct in terms of what Paul is saying, in the fact that she got in his face and was in his face, that's not being fiery. That is not being fiery, I'm afraid, Tasha. No, that is not being fiery. That is maybe I should take a step back, reflect on what the situation is that we're arguing about, and then take an approach that isn't jumping in my fella's face and shouting blue murder at him at the end of the day, knowing full well that that could be a trigger for him. So this is the thing that I always say, these people have to learn what triggers are for each other at the end of the day and work around them. But this is what happened with them too. And basically I was thinking, right, okay, so it started off pretty bad, abysmal between the both of them. And the fact of it is Tasha decided that this is wife swap week, but wife swap week. bloody hell, my mind's in a gutter, ain't it? Not wife swap week. This is partner swap week. But she decided to leave the room or the flat that they were sharing without actually saying anything to Paul. So it's kind of like, are you going to apologize for how you affected your relationship at that point in time? Or is that going to come later? But we shall see. We shall see what everybody is thinking and feeling at this point in time. So then it gets to Adrian and Matt. And Matt is, and basically Adrian is thinking that, you know, this process will actually make her miss Matt more. We all know it didn't. Didn't we? We all know that process would not make make Adrian miss Matt more. We all kind of knew that, did we not? So we see the partners very much well into their partner swap week, and then the focus is then on Sean and Mark in regards to the situation that is currently occurring between themselves. So you see Sean, after he's had the chat with Laura, because I think he does, I'm not sure if he has a chat with Laura previous to him going to see Sean, or it might be after, but you can correct me if I am wrong, because I do believe that it was after that he had that conversation with Mark. So basically he goes and she sees Mark and said that he's emotionally shattered, and basically said that he fears if he keeps on going with this, it's going to get worse, and he doesn't want to keep on going. So in a sense, Sean told Mark where his feelings were, where his thoughts were in regards to their marriage, that he didn't think that it could progress beyond where it is right now. My first thought was, because he keeps on saying that when he gets to a sticking point, he kind of tends to run, is this him actually running at this point? That was my first thought. Mark is saying that he didn't expect this at all, which is par for the course at the end of the day, because Sean is in his own feelings and in his own head at the moment. He needs to make sense of what the hell is going on to be able to make sense of it for Mark, and where their trajectory of their marriage is going, whether it's going to go forward or whether it's not going to happen at all. So Sean is basically turned around and says, I don't know where my head is at. I don't know what decision I have to make. But he knows what he needs to do in regards to making that decision. So he kind of then was going to sit and have that conversation with Mark. And I think until Mark turned around and said, well, it feels like you've hit a bump. You've hit a bump and you're down on yourself. And maybe that's causing you to want to run right now. At that first point, I was thinking Mark may be right. But no, not essentially, because you kind of can't force someone to stay in a situation that they don't want to be in, that you clearly see that they don't want to be in. And Sean is kind of showing in a roundabout way, even though he's not verbalizing the issues that is going on with him right now, right at this minute, that he doesn't want to be in the situation that he's in. But his juxtapose is, I'm scared of hurting you at the end of the day. He's scared of hurting Mark at the end of the day, but he knows that whatever decision he makes, especially his decision to say, like, you know what, I can't continue with this, he's going to hurt this man. Regardless, he's going to hurt this man. So basically Sean then gets up and walks out, which was a little bit rude. So I will agree with Mark on that one, where he said, well, that was fucking rude. But you know, it was a little bit rude, because man was talking at the time. You decided to get up and decided that, you know, I can't do this right now, and you decided to walk out the room, bearing in mind that you had a whole day and night apart from this man. At the end of the day, all he's searching for, all Mark was searching for at that point, was answers which Sean couldn't produce. So okay, I've just corrected myself. So this is the point where Sean has brought Laura in to have that conversation with her, to be that voice of reason for him. And he's basically saying that he at that point he didn't really know what to do, and he just wanted to convey someone else's opinion in regards to the situation as it was going ahead. So Sean is there saying that he is petrified of literally hurting Mark. But I think Sean at this point kind of knew where it was going to go, kind of knew that this was the said point, that he decided that enough was enough and that he needed to let Mark down as gently as he could. in that time and space, because I think Sean had made that decision to say that, you know what, I don't think I could continue on in this experiment with Mark, but wasn't sure how to broach that subject with him, or to be able to tell him where his feelings were, because as Sean said, he was petrified of hurting Mark. Sean was talking about that he does have feelings of being a saboteur in regards to the relationship, and that's why he's taking the actions that he's taking now. And as I said, it all revolves and stems around the fact that Mark has made it pretty clear that he doesn't want to be hurt by someone, made it pretty clear in his wedding vows that he didn't want Sean to hurt him. And probably because we don't get to see the essence of their relationship, the essence of their marriage, we don't get to see them day in, day off, in any shape or form. In that sense, it's what is edited for them to be put into the public for our consumptions to make our opinions on in that regard. So we don't know within that whole of that situation that Sean has tried to speak to Mark, or Mark has exerted more pressure upon Sean, especially in the fact that he doesn't know how to do things, like especially in the fact that he has this onus of responsibility on his partner to actually meet his needs in the way that he sees them. And maybe that could have enforced more pressure upon Sean, to the point where he was like, you know what, I don't know if I can meet the needs that you have. I really don't know if I can. So that was sending him off into a major spin. Now, I will say, in terms of Peggy and the Matt situation, like when because Peggy was partnered with Matt, is that she seemed a little bit different. She seemed a little bit more open when she was with Matt in then regards than she was with George. But as it panned out, as I already said, Peggy started to miss George's, you know, good, I can't even say the words, but you know what I mean. The energy of George, she missed it because Matt is so, meh. Like, he's really just, meh. You know when you get that emoji sign from just meh. That's how Matt is at the end of the day. So I can kind of see where Adrian is coming from at the end of the day. So Adrian thought this process would support her in missing Matt. It didn't in any way, shape or form, because she was completely surprised that she and George started bouncing off each other. And that's what I mean in terms of the fun that Adrian is looking for. She's not looking for someone to be up here all the time, like all the time. No, she's looking for someone to be on her level that she can literally bounce off. That's all she's looking for. But Matt cannot provide that, because Matt is literally under that level. I don't know where his energy's gone. Like, seriously, I'm like, Matt, are you listening to what your wife is wanting and what she's saying? Because she doesn't want you to be switched on all the time, but at least at certain points in your relationship, just be switched on enough to banter back and forth. And that's what Adrian and George had. They had the banter back and forth. And the fucked up thing is that Peggy thought she'd be able to get a different side of Matt, and when she didn't, all she was doing was missing George and hoping that George didn't really take up for Adrian, because she knew that Adrian was more on George's level at the end of the day. So then I did see when Adrian and George did go out for the little like lingerie shopping for Adrian to try and support George in trying to move along his intimacy with Peggy. Now, Peggy, as it seems, may have liked that, but me not so much, because I'm the type of person where, I don't want some other woman buying me lingerie when you're with my other half. That just does not sit right with me. But then that's me in a nutshell. That does not sit right with me, because I'm kind of thinking, well, why are you so invested? Why are you so invested in getting us to like get to that point at the end of the day? Why are you so invested that you have to take Malva to go buy lingerie for me, not really knowing what it is that I like and what I'm akin to in regards to that? But you are so invested in it, and that's what Adrian was being. She's been so invested in it, but George was gung ho for it, and he's lucky that you know, I will get into it in the next episode, but he's lucky that Peggy liked that type of scenario and that gift and that gesture at the end of the day. So then we go on to Laura and Thomas, and all I could say was the two poshies together at the end of the day. and it did come to fruition, is the fact that Thomas, how he is and how he presents, fits more into the life of Laura than Arthur does, and that is saying a lot at the end of the day. Laura was saying that stereotypically, Thomas fits in, but it's not. It goes beyond the stereotypically at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, Laura, you're not married to Thomas, you're married to Arthur. So the key juxtapose of it is will Arthur fit into the life that you've created for yourself? At the end of the day, will he fit into that? My answer is no. That's my dead plumb answer. I don't think Arthur's going to fit in her life, and I don't think she's going to fit in Arthur's life, because they are worlds apart, like completely worlds apart. And she is looking more for someone who presents as Thomas does rather than how Arthur does at the end of the day. So you see Arthur and Ella, and they're doing a tennis type of thing, and you know what, their humor is kind of base level. They get on, they click with each other in that sense. They can banter back and forth in that sense. Whereas I think with Arthur, with Laura, he is trying at some point, I'm not saying this all the time, but at some points he is trying to be the man that Laura wants him to be, and he's gonna fall short of that, because I really don't think Laura finds him to be that man, and I really don't think, as time has gone on, that Arthur believes that Laura will fit into his world, and I think that's the realistic thinking that Arthur is coming to, in terms of how he's now presenting himself and how he is now answering questions that are given to him, to the point of kind of like rudeness, but then to the point of I don't care. Like, he really does not care. It's either she's with me or she's not. At the end of the day, that's the thinking that I'm getting from Arthur. So now it's Homeward Bound for the couples, and then we first get to see Adrian, who is sad to see George go at the end of the day. George is saying that he's looking forward to seeing Peggy, and basically this experiment, I think for both of them, had been a blessing in disguise. As they say, absence makes the heart grow fonder, and I think that may be been the case for Peggy at that situation. Adrian is concerned for when Matt comes back home, in regards to the fact that there will be no natural flow of the conversation that she had with George at the end of the day. And George is telling Adrian that she needs to figure out what is best for her, which is absolutely correct. You need to figure out what is best for you, and not continually like kind of lead Matt on in that regard, and try and speak to him about the concerns that you have. I mean, that's not saying that Adrian hasn't. I think she has, like, till she's blue in the face, keeps telling Matt the concerns that she had, especially when it comes around the fun element and the banter element back and forth, that they clearly do not have. But I don't think Matt is taking that on board or seeing it as a major issue. So you get Peggy and George come back, and George has said that he's missed Peggy, and Peggy basically said that she missed him too at the end of the day. And I didn't think she would miss him, but she did. She did miss him, so I have to give her props for that. Adrian and Matt come back in, and he's like, "Hi honey, I'm home," kind of thing. And like, it is kind of flat. And Adrian has then told Matt how big of an impact that George has made, and the fact that, you know, they were at that point where they could like boom banter back and forth with each other, where she sees the gaps with Matt, and they're not at that space. And basically she is trying to tell him exactly where she is in her thoughts and her thinking. And I think Matt is just kind of like a guy that says, well, this is where I'm at, let's stick a plaster on it, and then let's see how it goes from there. And Adrian was so upset, believing that, you know, I'm going to be the bad guy in all of this, because of the fact that this is what I want, he's not providing it with me. And it may seem superfluous to us watching it, thinking, well, what do you mean? But I know exactly what she means when she says that the banter is just not on top level with Matt as it was with George. My only gripe I'm going to give with George and Peggy is the fact that George did turn around to Peggy and says that Adrian, that she is leagues above like Adrian. I'm like, nah, you may see it from your point of view because you have your rose-colored glasses on, and because you literally want to jump into Peggy's coochie coo at the end of the day, not necessarily Adrian's, but you want to jump in Peggy's coochie coo and she's not giving you that. You may see Peggy as leagues above Adrian, but a little bit. I don't. I'm sorry, I don't, because I do like Adrian. Over more so than Peggy, I do like Adrian at the end of the day. So then you see it move to Laura and Arthur as they go back, and Laura is basically saying that she does have some concerns ruminating in her mind in terms of how they're going to fit in each other's world. And basically they're both saying that they would just need to see where it is heading at the end of the day. And then you see Tasha and Paul come back together, and it's hella awkward, like fully hella awkward between them two, because they need to sort the situation out that had occurred before the partner swap happened. And Tasha said that she was anxious to see Paul because she wanted to try and sort situations out. And I'm kind of like, is this the point where you're going to apologize to this man in a way that you behaved with him? Or are you just going to literally sit there and say that, you know what, I'm just a fiery person, and if something comes up, I am just going to fire at it in that situation. I'm not really giving consideration to your partner's feelings at that point in time. So Paul basically ask her, do you understand why I am pissed off at the moment? Because he's essentially saying, which is true, he's essentially saying that if he did the same thing as what Tasha did to him, it would be a different story, because he would be seen as the male, the absolute aggressor, and probably as a bit of an abuser in that sense, and everybody will be lambasting that man from here to John O'Groats at the end of the day. So he wanted to make sure that she understood that with how she conducted herself and did what she did in regards to an argument that went left field, how that would look if he did that. So basically she did say that she wanted to resolve the issue, and she did apologize to him, but then she made the promise, Tasha then made the promise that, you know, it will never happen again, I will never do that again, I can promise you that right now. And I'm kind of the vein is, don't make promises that your ass can't keep at the end of the day. Your mouth is making this promise, but can you really keep that promise, that you won't get het up to the point that you're literally shouting at this man again? Can you really honestly and truly say that? And I don't think anybody, or even Tasha, can really say that they ain't gonna shout at this man, they ain't gonna shout at Paul again if something gets to the point where actually you're not listening to me, we're having a bit of an argument, but now it's getting over the point of me standing back and reflecting, I'm literally gonna go for you. Is she gonna be able to put that back into a box? And I honestly don't think she'll be able to. But this is where I'm going to end this episode, and I'll be back very quickly with the next episode. So as I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so when you know I'm on doing videos, and I'll be back to you very, very soon. Peace out.